Life's like a movie. Write your own ending. Keep believing, keep pretending. In 1978, Emily Kingsley wrote a spin-off Sesame Street children's book entitled The Exciting Adventures of Super Grover. Little did she know that 29 years later, my little baby fingers would get a hold of it and fall in love with the Muppets. I spent most of my childhood watching Sesame Street, learning letters and numbers from an ensemble of monsters living in a town just like mine. In 2011, I watched The Muppets, learning about unity and the importance of friendship. To say that experiences like this changed my life is kind of an understatement. I love the Jim Henson Company. Obviously. Actually, this one time in 6th grade, I had a Muppet pencil bag, and I was talking to a girl sitting next to me, and I was telling her how I wanted to be a puppeteer when I grew up. She said that I was a freak and that puppeteers were creepy. Also, a couple months later, she dripped ink into my eyes, and that's why I wear glasses. Fuck you, Maddie. I think what kept me so fascinated with the Muppets all of these years is the story of Jim Henson. Failure is just that moment when you decide to give up. And Jim Henson was a man who never gave up. In 1950, the Henson family of Greenville, Mississippi bought a television, inspiring the young Jim Henson into changing the entertainment and educational world forever. Later in 1954, Jim's local CBS station asked for young puppeteers for a new show called The Junior Morning Show. Knowing nothing about puppets and wanting to break into the television industry, Jim applied, creating his first Muppet, Pierre the Rat. Landing the role, Jim was offered a 5-minute slot by WRC-TV between the news and The Tonight Show. Jim jumped at this opportunity, becoming the lead writer and performer for Sam and Friends. Sam and Friends was the birthplace of a green, abstract, energetic Muppet named Kermit. The popularity of Sam, Kermit, and all the abstract Muppets opened up opportunities for young Jim, one of which was a commercial for a small coffee company, Wilkins Coffee, taking the world by storm.
I've got 5 aces. Can you beat that?
I've got a can of Wilkins coffee. Nothing beats Wilkins.
Give me a close shave.
Do you drink Wilkins coffee?
Never.
My friend, this is going to be the closest shave you've ever had.
It was commercials like this that cemented Jim's iconic comedic style. In 1962, Jim Henson was approached by Purina Dog Chow to make a series of commercials starring Muppet dogs. Jim accepted, and Rolf the dog made his worldwide debut. 1 year later, Jim was approached by country singer Jimmy Dean asking Rolf to do skits alongside him in his new show, The Jimmy Dean Show. Jim controlled the mouth and left hand of the puppet, and the right hand was operated by his friend and fellow puppeteer Frank Oz.
Hey! Son of a bitch!
Across the United States, in 1966, Tucson, Arizona, writer Joan Gons Cooney asked a question. Why isn't television a tool to help teach children? 2 years later, in 1968, she founded a nonprofit titled the Children's Television Workshop. She concluded that her educational children's show would need to be fast-paced and exciting, pointing to TV commercials as a reference, leading her directly to Jim Henson. Jim hesitantly joined the Children's Television Workshop in 1968. Jim feared that putting his Muppets on a children's show would cement the Muppets' identity as children's entertainment. However, Jim helped make a pitch reel for the new show called Sesame Street.
You know what this is, Kermit?
A really bad triangle?
Oh, come on, Kermit. It's a circle.
What are those guys doing?
Well, you see, we haven't settled on a title for the show yet, so the guys are working on it. How's it coming, fellas?
Oh, so, okay. All right then. How about this for a title? The 2 and 2 are 5 show.
That's not
Yeah,
you crazy? Now, this is supposed to be an educational show. 2 plus 2 don't make 5.
They don't.
No, you meatball.
These kids can't read or write, can they?
No.
Then how's about we call the show Hey Stupid?
Hey, stupid. Okay, that does it. Out, you guys. I'll think of a title without you. Out!
Well, what sort of a title are you looking for?
Oh, something that says we're gonna open up new worlds for these little kids, you know, but not too cute. Oh, what am I gonna do, Kermit?
Hey, Ralph,
Hmm?
why don't you call your show Sesame Street?
My entire career as a TV educator nipped in the... What was that?
Sesame Street. You know, like open sesame? It kind of gives the idea of a street where neat stuff happens.
Kermit! Why, you're a genius! Mwah!
Yuck.
The show was approved and aired in 1969, and was groundbreaking in its education of not only letters and numbers, but prejudice and racial justice. The show was an overwhelming success. Jim, however, was more scared than ever of his Muppets being seen as children's entertainment. He needed to act fast. Jim started working on other projects, such as Hey Cinderella and The Great Santa Claus Switch. But what Jim really wanted was a prime-time Muppet show. Jim made a pitch reel to help find someone to buy the show.
The United States of America needs the Muppet Show, and you should buy this show! Now, we're not pulling any punches here. I mean, there's nothing subtle about this pitch. So buy the show and put it on the air, and we'll all be famous. The Muppets will be famous, and CBS will be famous because we'll have a hit show on our hands. And we'll all get temperamental and hard to work with, but you won't care because we'll all make a lot of money. And Slaughter and Henson will be happy, and you will be happy, and Kermit's mother will be happy. And God will look down on us and smile on us, and he will say, let them have a 40 share.
ABC picked up the show and Jim made 2 pilots, The Muppets Valentine Show and later Muppets Sex and Violence. The Muppet Valentine Show followed a group of Muppets writing a screenplay and was said it needed to focus more on short, skit-like segments that the Muppets were known for. Sex and Violence was about the Muppets, hosted by a small orange Muppet named Nigel, putting on a pageant. But it needed more of a story and less chaotic skits. Clearly, if the Muppet Show was going to work, Jim needed to do some reworking. Jim wanted to keep the show within a show format and decided that this Muppet Show would take place in an old theater and the Muppets would put on a show. Luckily, Jim had 20 years worth of Muppet characters to occupy his cast. Jim moved Nigel to the band conductor, used a small character called a Frackle from The Great Santa Claus Switch to be the show's daredevil, and Rolf to be the pianist. All the Muppets needed now was a host. Thankfully, Kermit needed a home.
It's the Muppet Show with our very special guest star, Miss Juliet Prowse.
The first episode went over better, however the pacing was still not perfect. But the team couldn't go back. They just worked harder and made the rest of the season even better. In the summer of 1976, the show premiered, and it was a hit in the UK. But Jim wanted more. The Muppet team remade several of the puppets and fine-tuned the characters for season 2. And in 1977, Muppet Mania swept across the United States. What made the Muppet Show special was the celebrity guest stars. Having a human on set helped the Muppets bounce off of someone and keep the show grounded. Jim was always looking towards the future and was given $8 million to make the first Muppet movie. It was released in 1979 and made over $65 million at the box office. After the success of the Muppet movie and the Muppet Show starting its 5th and final season, Jim was ready for something new. His next big project. A show to teach kids about love, life, and a mission to end all war.
Dance your cares away. Worries for another day. Let the music play. Fraggle Rock.
Jim started planning on a new show, with themes of unity and the beauty of our differences. Looking back on the characters in The Great Santa Claus Switch, Jim looks toward the little henchmen he called the Frackles. It was good, but Jim wanted to play around with it a little more, and came up with a show called Fraggle Hill in 1983. Jim always feared his name being synonymous with children and being labeled as a children's entertainer, so at the same time as his preparations for Fraggle Hill, Jim was also working on his passion project, a fantasy film called The Dark Crystal. Jim's producer said that in order to create his fantasy film, he also needed to keep the Muppets relevant by making a sequel to the Muppet movie. Jim was fairly hands-off with his newly named show, Fraggle Rock. But it was still pitched and bought by HBO in 1981, while at the same time, The Dark Crystal was in post-production. The film was released in 1982 to mixed reviews, earning $60 million in box office sales. Thankfully, Fraggle Rock was getting incredible reviews from children and adults alike. Fraggle Rock was marketed as a show to teach a moral baseline for humanity. The show was split into 2 segments, Inside Fraggle Rock and Our Outside World, referred to as Outer Space. These outer space segments were referred to as home base and allowed other countries to film their own versions to help reach a higher international audience. The The show successfully taught morals of problem-solving, diversity, friendship, and appreciation of life. And in 1989 became the first Western show to air inside the Soviet Union. In the summer of 1989, Jim was in talks with the Walt Disney Company to buy out the Jim Henson Company and create Muppet Vision 3D for Walt Disney World in 1991. Unfortunately, Jim Henson died May 16th of 1990, leaving the rights of the Muppets in the hands of the Henson family. In 2004, Disney approaches the family to buy the Jim Henson Company for $75 million. Disney now owns the rights to the Muppets and does nothing with them. They just sit and wait. Thankfully, in 2007, the legend himself, Jason Segel, approached Disney and pitched, wrote, produced, and starred in a new movie he called The Muppets.
Am I a Muppet? Or am I a man? Am I a man?
To say that this film was great is an understatement. This film had all the heart and original charm as the original Muppet film. It didn't last long.
But 2014 has Muppets Most Wanted. Yeah! Muppets Most Wanted.
Yes!
Fuck! 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 Oh!
Disney thought they could make a mediocre sequel without putting in real effort and love, and it would make a lot of money. Muppets Most Wanted broke me. Jason Segel wasn't a part of the sequel, and you can tell there was no heart or care put into this movie. Why the fuck would you make the Muppets CGI? They're fucking puppets. Disney's next attempt was the 2015 mockumentary show ABC's The Muppets. I like this show, it's different, and I think the Office-type show works perfectly with these characters. However, this show was met with immediate backlash. Critics of the show claim that its more adult comedy lost sight of the Muppets' original purpose. Personally, I see where the criticism is coming from. I do, however, still like the show. However, I don't like how Disney responded to all the criticism. Steve Waymire, the voice of Kermit after Jim's death, and a longtime puppeteer for the Henson Company, was fired for vocalizing his issues with the direction Disney was taking the characters he helped build. I guess the real lesson is that Disney saw a property that was wildly successful, didn't understand its characters, bought them without a plan, and didn't understand how much work it would be to bring the characters to life. The Muppets won't work without heart, hard work, and a family of puppeteers working together bringing them to life. We've done just what we've set out to do. Thanks to the lovers, the dreamers, and you.